Hey, this is JD Frost. Welcome to the Daily Ledger podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, two stories that come to mind when thinking about the day one mindset. The first one, three stories. The first one would be the story when day one originated, when I was freaking out one day talking with Rocky Garza, and I could not get out of my mind that I missed this streak. This streak that I've been working on for a long period of time, and I lost the streak, and I couldn't get past the fact I couldn't show myself enough grace in order to overcome that. Rocky Garza talked to me about this power of day one and how really I've been living a day one mindset for a long period of time. I just didn't realize it. That's why my handle on Instagram is jdfrost.today. Everything that happens today is going to change the rest of your life. In order to change your life, if you change your daily routine, then your life starts to change. So you can start changing your life right now, by embracing this concept and mindset of day one. Those daily reminders, those daily actions, that daily accountability of practicing grace, gratitude, resilience, attitude, consistency, and energy. That's what grace provides you. The first story that comes to mind when I'm thinking about the power of day one and how it has enabled me personally. And I didn't even realize it that I was living it at the time. But when I came home one day and my wife had our pastor and her parents and herself in a room when I came home and asked me to sit down so that she could start to read me a letter. And in the middle of that letter, I could not believe, but I was sitting in the middle. I realized at that moment that I was sitting in my own intervention. And when I realized that, I got extremely angry. Because I've been sober for a week, which is a long period of time for me. And I was still having an intervention. I didn't want to go through that. I didn't want to go through that pain. I did not want to experience that hurt, that regret, that fear, that anxiety that I have been feeling for a long period of time, and I've been masking those feelings with alcohol for a long period of time. I've been stuffing those feelings way down in that bottle for a long period of time because I didn't want anybody to find out. I didn't want to be alone because I knew that if I gave up that bottle that I was going to be alone. I didn't know that that is not the truth. As she was reading that to me, I got up, I walked into our bedroom, I saw that there were 5 suitcases packed up. I saw that all of my stuff was in 5 suitcases and that I was leaving the house that day. That was the deal. I was going to have to start going to marriage counseling. I was going to start going to AA, which I had avoided like the plague for a long period of time because I did not want to face the facts. Because if I stopped drinking, then I was going to lose all my friends. I was going to lose my life. I was going to lose my business. I was going to lose everything that I thought was important to me. What little did I realize that everything that truly was important to me, I was getting ready to lose if I didn't lose those things. So I had to choose. I had to choose between, do I want to keep the things that are really important to me, that I know are more important, or do I want to keep the things that I think are more important, that I think are important to me, that I think people are going to support me, or do I want to go with what I know? And so after about 5-6 hours of this intervention, going through all the pains that I caused my wife and my children and those closest to me, I was able to negotiate being able to stay at home. And in hindsight, that was the best thing ever, which it was really difficult. It was a lot harder to stay at home than I thought it would be because living together after all that, this is everything out on the table. everything that I've been doing wrong, everything that I thought was a secret came out. It's a very humbling experience and very vulnerable experience when you have other people in the room only talking about what you have done wrong, what you have not fulfilled. It just makes you feel terrible. But it's necessary. That pain, the best part of the Serenity Prayer is pain is the pathway to peace. That short-term pain is a pathway to peace. It's such a very powerful part of the Serenity Prayer. When we got done with the intervention, part of my negotiation was I asked that if I do these things, then I said I should get something. And they're like, what do you want? I said, I want her to unpack all my suitcases. She packed up all my stuff, all of it. I'm talking picture frames and everything for me to basically set up a home someplace else. My wife and I are very open about this. She does not mind me talking about it because it's our truth. And it's part of being transparent and rigorously honest. And it's necessary to tell that story because that was my day one. Even though I'd been sober for a week, I hadn't drunk for a week. There's a difference between not drinking and sobriety. That was the day that I started my sobriety. I still celebrate not drinking, not having a drink from that week before. But there's a difference between not drinking and sobriety. That was the very first day of my sobriety. That was the day one of my sobriety. That's where I started to show myself grace. That's where I started to do the work. That's where I started to train. That's where I started to live out the sea of grace, consistency, going to meetings every week, going to marriage counseling once a week, reading, expanding my mind, growing spiritually, doing my devotional. I had not started that yet, but I started it in July. After I started to become a little bit more clear-headed, I realized I needed to grow spiritually. And so I focused on that immensely. That day is when I started my day one. That's when I started my consecutive day ones. And since then, I have lived what day one is, those 5 factors that get you into a day one mindset. And I didn't even realize it at the time. I never had it described to me till I missed that streak where I felt like I relapsed with Rocky that day. When he started to introduce to me the concept of day one. He helped me through that story change the way I thought. He changed the way I think about each day and what it really means. The next story that I have related to the day one mindset is I came across another struggling alcoholic. He was going to lose his job. He was going to be demoted right after he'd been promoted, and he had messed up once again. I don't know how many times he messed up. He had messed up over and over and over again. He didn't believe in himself, and this person, I had to start working with him on a regular basis in order to help him keep his job. I was able to protect his job, not have him get fired or demoted, but actually keep the position that he's in because we showed him grace. Because we showed him grace. And when we had a conversation right after he found out that this is what was going to happen and we were going to have to start doing these things, the things that we talked about that he was going to do are the factors of grace. They're the factors of day one. GRACE. Gratitude, resilience, attitude, consistency, and energy. And when we were in there talking right after we had this meeting, and it was just me and him, and we were talking about what are you going to do next? How are you going to do this? That's when I introduced him to day one. I showed him this video of this speech that I did because I didn't really know how to describe day one to him at the time, but I had to let the speech just speak for itself. And that speech is on YouTube, and you can go watch that if you want to. It's on my YouTube channel, J.D. Frost, and it's about 10 minutes, so it goes very quickly, but it gets straight to the point about what day one is and what we've been talking about here. It's daily reminders, it's daily actions, it's daily accountability. This guy, he's 46 years old, and he didn't believe in himself. He didn't believe in anything. He didn't know what to do. He was fearful. He was full of anxiety. He was isolated. He felt by himself. And this concept is saving him. He decided that today is day one. I shared that with him. I said, man, he was like, what do I do? I said, it's day one. It's day one. And every day from now until the end of your life is day one. Just like when Jesus told that paralytic to get up and walk away and go through the crowd and walk out of that house and start living your life, it is yours to live right now. It's yours to live today, day one, right now. Now all we got to do is start practicing the daily 5. We got to start practicing grace with ourselves. We got to let ourselves be successful. We have to let ourselves fail every now and again. We have to be okay with the fact that we only did a 5-minute workout or that we only read one page. We still did and practiced day one today. That guy has been sober for a little over 2 weeks now. That's the most recent story that I have of day one, and it's worked so well for him to help him change his mindset. Every single day we text each other, day one. That's it. We just say day one. But he's practicing his gratitude list. He's practicing resilience by doing a devotional every day. He's practicing his attitude by doing something physical, taking walks, doing something physical to get his body moving and getting a better attitude. He's practicing resilience through training, through reading the 12 steps, through reading the traditions. He's practicing energy by writing down his goals every single day. Now, day one is not just for alcoholics. Because of my story, because of where I come from, because of my experience so far, that is where it has worked tremendously. We just had this event called Onward 72, and we introduced the power of day one and how it can change your life. And there were people in there that were non-alcoholic, alcoholic, from every walk of life, and day one still struck a chord with them. Some of them didn't love themselves. Some of them weren't spending enough time with their family. But today is day one. They can start that over. Day one is such a powerful concept that is going to give you the ability to start every single day with a fresh, new look. Because what you do today is going to be what changes your life tomorrow. What you do today is going to be what changes your life in 10 years. Do you want to be the person that you want to be in 10 years today, or do you want to wait until tomorrow? I don't want to wait. I want to be that person right now. I want to be that person that is that 10 year down the road, J.D. Frost. That's who I want to be. What can I do today to be that person? It's recording this right now. It's talking to you about it right now. It's expressing these stories. It's living these stories. It's sharing these stories. It's thinking about this concept to where it can make more sense to anybody who comes across it, because when you see day one, you see your future self. I really appreciate you listening to the Daily Ledger podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you have a great day.